The Randy RINO McNally will not seek re-election, and conservatives all over the state of Tennessee who actually know his record celebrate. We'll get into it. We also have stories on House committee to revive a bill to unenroll illegal aliens from Tennessee schools. Legislative committees consider a slate of bills to keep illegal aliens off the road. A bill requiring private employers to verify work authorization for everyone is up to a House vote. Senate committee advances this crappy truancy bill that is fiercely opposed by Tennessee homeschoolers. Republican bill removing the rights of citizens to sue the state stalled in the Senate, but it's still alive in the House. Senate committee passes bill prohibiting educators from sexual behavior with former students. Again, how bad does the environment have to be in government schools to actually pass this stuff? And then we've got a lawmaker introduces bill to limit property tax hikes in Tennessee. And finally, House sponsor to withdraw bill seeking to impose greater fees because I guess they want to prevent Tennessee citizens from actually knowing what the government is doing. It's Brandon Lewis here with the 10 Con Big 7. Before we roll into these stories, you have likely received an email, text message, maybe even a phone call from me because it has cost a lot of money to report on this legislative session, and giving is down as conservatives disengage because Trump is in office. So if you can help us, please let us know. Our recurring donations are like $4,500 a month, which basically covers Jason Vaughn's salary, which is way lower than what it needs to be. Uh, and that's about it. And everything else that we have for reporters, for software, for any kind of other overhead or expense, essentially has to come out of random donations, and we never know when they're going to come in. So if you could become a monthly donor, please do go to Tennessee Conservative news.com, hit the support button, or send your checks to P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. That is P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. First story: Randy McNally, the exhumed corpse, is not going to run for elected office, ending a 48-year career. Lord, we need term limits. And unfortunately, the lieutenant governor, unlike a lot of other states, is not elected. It's appointed by various members of the Senate who vote on who they want to be their leader. And we're going to go through Randy's record here expeditiously. And it begs the question: what kind of Republicans do we have in the Tennessee legislature when they think that many of these things that Mr. McNally has done just over the past 5 years is conservative and in alignment with their district? McNally survived a vote of no confidence from his Senate colleagues in 2023 after a bunch of racy comments with a scantily clad young gay man on the internet. It is likely that either Jack Johnson, Bo Watson, or Paul Bailey may step into this position, and they've got a very big job. And here it is: you have to suck less than Randy McNally. I think that can be easily done. So here are a few things, in no particular order, that you will not hear about Randy McNally. I guarantee you, about a month after the session ends, maybe 60 days, they'll have this big soiree where they get together and they pat each other on the back and have a giant bless me club where everybody talks about how awesome everybody else is. And it's a catered dinner, and it's funded and paid for by lobbyists who have made tons of money by wielding influence with Randy McNally over the years. And none of this stuff that we're about to talk about will be mentioned. He voted no on limiting the governor's ability to suspend constitutional rights during emergencies. All that crap that we went through in COVID, the masking that didn't work, the shutting down of businesses, many of which went out of business, the masking of kids, the sitting of kids at home, everything, the social distancing that we've all discovered to be fake, the vaccine mandates that caused many people to lose their jobs. Randy McNally thought that was great. He voted against a pride flag ban for schools. This is that great vote where uh, Randy McNally voted with the Democrats to keep pride flags in schools, and all of the other Republicans who were too cowardly to actually vote on this left the committee. That was a great moment for Randy McNally. He also voiced support for red flag gun laws after the Covenant trans shooter shot up the school. Like, we don't need to take away rights from law-abiding Tennesseans. We need to figure out why these kids are being indoctrinated, medicated, and hacked on at Vanderbilt and other places. And but no, never let a emergency go to waste. Let a bill to stop TennCare coverage of gender affirming care treatments. Uh, I can't believe that. Described as preventing TennCare from covering gender affirming treatments was sponsored by Randy McNally but never scheduled. Probably got a little bit of kickback money from Vanderbilt and decided that that wouldn't be good for his campaign. Um, Senate wouldn't run a school safety bill after its House sponsor confirmed. And Warner ran this thing and reported that school safety bill passed the House unanimously, but he's told that the Senate wouldn't run it. Uh, of course, there's the whole social media controversy. Everybody knows about that one. Uh, he backed and defended a caption bill that was basically just an incumbent protection bill, and it was a speech chilling apparatus because all these incumbents got upset that because after they performed so poorly during COVID and should have been tarred and feathered and ran out of the state, but instead are still in office, they tried to put this huge kibosh on nonprofits. For like, if you spend $5,000 or more with free speech, and groups like the NRA and many others raised concern about this. No transparency. It was just terrible. Wanted to censor conservative groups 60 days before the election. Yeah, that's real conservative. That's real free speech, Randy. Using establishment resources to protect uh, incumbents, and you've seen this with that kangaroo court up there with the campaign finance stuff. Highlighted a gun reform group donations to lawmakers tied to GOP leadership and the red flag efforts. Uh, Very slow to respond, was actually the last person to respond to having a special session to pull back, not what the Democrats had done to us during COVID, but what Republicans had done. And he was the last holdout on that, at least in the Senate and in the House. And of course, will not let conservative press outlets like ours into the press pool. And so there's tons of other things that if you go through his career, I mean, we've watched nothing but exponential growth in Tennessee government, raising of taxes, tons of corporate welfare, all of which he's voted for. And so they'll be celebrating and patting him on the back because he breathed long enough up there and wielded enough influence. But at the end of the day, he's not conservative, and Tennessee is better off with him shuffling off towards Shady Oaks. House Committee to hear bill revived for allowing for disenrollment of illegal aliens. This is a controversial bill. Why is it controversial? Not because 85% of GOP primary voters, probably upwards of 90, want it, but because the government school employees and the Democrats and the RINOs are worried about it. And this is sponsored by Senate Majority Leader William Lambert. Basically, means that you can uh, disenroll illegal aliens or ask them to provide tuition if they're going to come into a school. And it would make all private and public charter schools verify students' legal status during enrollment. And if the status could not be verified through documentation, LEAs in public schools could charge tuition not less than the TISA based funding. And if the illegal students fail to pay the tuition, enrollment could be denied, despite the Senate passing their version of SB 836. The bill ultimately stalled in the House, and so we will see if this goes on again. It appears that William Lambert's bill is on the calendar for the House Finance Ways Means Committee March 4th. This is something that I hope happens, although I doubt that school boards we'll have the you know whats, except maybe in some rural counties to actually enforce this. I think in Knox County and Chattanooga, even though 85% of their constituents want it, the rhinos on the school boards have voted against it. So we'll see how this goes. Legislative committees to consider slate of bills to keep illegal immigrants off the road. HB 1706 and 1587 explicitly, is that how you say that? Prohibits employers from allowing those not lawfully present from driving in commercial vehicles in the U.S. It's a Class A misdemeanor. 1708 and 1889 means that they have to meet sufficient English standards and reading. I don't know that a lot of kids that come out of government schools could pass that. And then 1817 and 1748 mandates that an enforcement officer must be required to issue an out of service order to any commercial drivers who can't pass a safety inspection and be proficient in English. So we will see. Some of these things are going to be in subcommittees. You can reach out to your elected officials and see if you can get them to support these things. Tennessee bill requiring private employers to verify work authorization for everyone they pay is now up for a House vote. Sponsored by Scott Sapicki. It's amended and scheduled for a vote on the House floor March 5th. The Senate version is heard to be heard in the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee. According to Sapicki, the legislation does away with existing exemptions in state law for private employers with less than 6 employees. The number of paid employees an individual must have to be considered a private employer for the purposes of the Tennessee Lawful Employment Act. They would be required to submit certain evidence of work authorization or status of employees and non-employees to the commissioner rather of Department of Workforce and Labor. Should a private employer fail to submit this evidence, the commissioner would be charged with requesting an order summary action leading to the suspension of the private employer's business license. I would be surprised if this passes because the Chamber of Commerce, the Tennessee Business Roundtable, everybody loves cheap illegal alien labor. It doesn't matter that 41 Tennesseans have died. It doesn't matter about all the rapes and the trafficking and the burglary and the violence. You know, just got the green, baby. So we'll see. We'll see if this stuff makes it through. Next story, Senate committee advances truancy bill fiercely opposed by Tennessee homeschool families. I hope these guys like Senator Adam Lowe that are pushing this stuff, all it takes is about 2 dozen homeschool parents and families that are really ticked off in an area to unseat a senator or to give them a real good run for their money. And so hopefully Mr. Lowe and back in his district is really making great friends because homeschoolers get out, they'll knock doors, they'll do things. They are probably in the GOP um, grassroots community. I would say they are likely the most active people when it comes to door knocking and things of that nature. So I think Mr. Lowe is barking up a very dangerous tree here, but let him do it. The second attempt by Lowe to run the legislation dealing with truancy after his previous and very similar bill received pushback from homeschool families. The now withdrawn bill, stated as introduced, requires the director of schools to report a student who is formerly truant and now enrolled in a homeschool to juvenile court. Establishes that unexcused absences accumulated by a transfer student at the former LEA during the school year, which they transfer, blah, blah, blah. While it does not include homeschool in the bill language, the proposed legislation remains virtually unchanged. Public school students are found truant, move through several tiers, while Lowe states that his bill is still aimed at parents with drug abuse problems who just don't bother to send their kids to school. Many Tennessee parents find themselves having to deal with truancy interventions after their children have missed school due to sickness. You know, the whole thing, and this is also the corresponding bill, is Kevin Raper. Kevin Raper and Adam Lowe. That's how you know it's a bad bill. Sometimes you just know bills are bad by who brings them. Is it about how long the student physically occupies the government school prisons with the crappy lunches and the long lines and all of this crap that we have to continue to pass legislation to keep teachers from molesting children and indoctrinating them, and the fact that the standards are in the crapper? Is it just breathing the air inside a school that gets these scores up? No. We've been sitting at the same bumping along the bottom scores in Tennessee government schools for as long as I've been paying any attention to it. I'm here to tell you, as someone that runs a school, if you got teachers that can't be fired, and if you've got clients that if they're not served don't have any options, and if the school gets the same amount of money, whether the kids show up or not, whether they go to another private school through the voucher program or whatever else, like how you think that you can remedy anything in that education system to make it good with those constraints being in place is a fool's errand. It is all theater of the mind. Uh, the reforms that would be needed to actually turn government education around in Tennessee are so drastic, very easy and simple. You give me like 30, 40 minutes and a piece of paper, I could draft the legislation that would fix most of it. But boy, that would require you know what of steel. And I think in the Senate in many cases, and less so, but much so in the House, I mean, you couldn't find that testicular fortitude if you cobbled together a dozen of them. And so we'll see. Guys, again, reporting on this stuff in the legislative session that you will not get from any place else so that you can remain active and vigilant of your freedom in Tennessee. If you appreciate it, please do go to tennesseeconservativenews.com/support and make a donation. Mail your checks to P.O. Box 625, Signal Mountain, Tennessee 37377. As I mentioned in the video I recorded here recently, I was out of town for about a week and a half, and I came back, and there's like two checks in there. Two checks during the time when we spend the most money. And it's just, we'll see how it goes. But we need your help. So if you can kick in, especially if you've never contributed before, guys, really, somebody else will do it? I don't think so. I've not seen that to be the case. It's got to be you. So if you're listening to the sound of my voice and you've never donated, please get off your tail, chip in. Don't let everybody else carry you. Next story, Republican bill removing right of citizens to sue state of Tennessee stalled in Senate, still alive in House, after immense pushback over a bill proposing to strip individuals' rights to challenge constitutionally questionable laws in Tennessee. The legislation failed in its Senate committee but remains alive in the House. This has been opposed by many advocacy groups, Tennessee Stands, Tennessee Firearm Association, two groups that you can follow that have really good information. And they've had over 10,000 Tennessee citizens contact them. Of course, a lot of these guys are blind, deaf, and dumb. The Senate Judiciary Committee, the vote resulted in a tie with Kerry Roberts abstaining. That's a coward's vote. Kerry Roberts has shown up with a lot of bad votes over the years. It's not fully dead, as failed bill in the Senate does not indicate it has been killed, so long as the House counterpart is up as well. So this is going to be in the Judiciary Committee on March 11th. Read your oath of office, people. Read your oath of office. Senate committee passes bill prohibiting educators from sexual behavior with former students. I would not send my kid to an environment where they constantly have to pass these types of laws. The only reason they have to pass these types of laws is because the stuff is happening. Yeah, that's where I want to send my two little girls. Piece of legislation passed the Senate Education Committee on Wednesday and add a section in the Tennessee Code of Teacher Ethics barring educators from engaging in sexual related behaviors with prior students. Sponsored by Don White, the bill would subject any teacher who engages in sexual conduct with a former student who had contact with that educator in at least the last 12 months to disciplinary action by the State Board of Education. 9-0, House Bill 2106 now progresses to the full Senate. The bill is coming after a large response to a growing number of reports about grooming and sex crimes committed by Tennessee teachers. And these guys are worried about homeschoolers abusing their kids. Lord. Representative Barrett's House Bill 2317 is scheduled for the House Criminal Justice Subcommittee. It's just sad. It's just sad. We send these little lives, these impressionable kids, into a place where they should just learn the basics and be in a safe environment that is ethical and moral. And every freaking session of the Tennessee Senate and House, we have to just keep tacking on these laws that are like, oh God, this stuff's happening in the schools. Maybe this law will prevent it. I don't think it will. I don't think it will. Lawmaker introduces bills to limit property tax hikes in Tennessee. Sponsored by Senator Bo Watson. Probably means it's got a good chance of passing. Prohibits local governments from increasing a real property tax rate by an amount that would cause local governments to realize an increase in total revenue exceeding inflation plus 2 percentage points. City or county governments wanting to exceed these limits would have to put the proposed increases to a vote in the next statewide election. We're one of only 4 states that doesn't have a cap on property taxes. Conservative Representative Bud Halsey has filed similar legislation to protect Tennesseans from excess property tax increases. So 60% of voters would have to agree that the increase is needed. I think that is a good number. House sponsored to withdraw a bill seeking to impose greater fees for examining Tennessee public records. Representative Rebecca Alexander. Why anybody would bring this bill, I have no idea. I mean, just go ahead and signal. Just wear a horn on your nose as you go into the session. The Tennessee Public Records Act allows any state resident to inspect public records at no cost, with public entities allowed to charge only a reasonable fees for tasks like labor, retrieving, redacting information, legal opinions, etc. The legislation would have revised these provisions to allow for charges to be applied to a citizen who simply wanted to view the records. That's real good, Rebecca. That's real good. I don't know what government bureaucrat linked into your office and convinced you that this was politically smart. But boy, they found somebody that would buy the idea in you. And it's a terrible. Call me before you take up these bills. I can tell you how they'll go. Deborah Fisher, executive director of Tennessee Coalition for Open Government, applauded this and said, "Glad the bill is going to be pulled because it really would have shut down the access to public records." That's what's going on in your state government, people. Go look. Go look in the broadsheets. Go look on News Channel ABCDFG and see if these stories are being reported. They're not. We're the only ones that report them. Lord, we're going to have to start kissing some corporate butts. Maybe start brown nosing the leadership. Do a 180. You write us a check for $5,000, put an ad on our website, we'll lie through our teeth for as long as it takes. That's how a lot of publications do it. Most of them, as a matter of fact. But we can't. I'll shut it down before I do that. I'll just write y'all a Dear John letter, and it's been nice. And sometimes I think, there's a season. There's a season for public service, and I kind of feel like this is the role that I'm in. And so it will all depend on what the sponsors do. So it is all up to you. What's going on this weekend? We have got a full calendar of events. I think Aunt Hey Hey is coming over tonight. I'm going to try to hit the gym. Got a couple of diagnostic calls I got to get to with clients after this broadcast. Saturday, I got a good friend and fraternity brother coming up, Mr. Matthew, to pick up what is apparently a very expensive limited edition Dave Matthews concert poster, which I went and picked up for him for $600 off Rossville Boulevard. So it must be a nice poster. It's in the back of my car. So we're going to meet for breakfast. I'm going to hand that puppy off to him. He's a big Dave Matthews fan. And then we are celebrating my wife's birthday this weekend. Now, the birthday has already passed, but all of the Fincher women and a few others are getting together to go out to a movie and do a few things. I'll be working around the house here because last 2 months I've been so busy with my consulting business because it's hyper seasonal that I've let things in the yard and in the house kind of go. We got Christmas decorations laying on the floor in the garage. I got to go put those up in the attic, and hopefully I'll get down to the gym. I want to lay out by the pool for a little while, get some vitamin D. Just been inside this office looking at this computer screen for months now. So I'm ready to see something different. And then Sunday we will probably go to church. We typically go on Saturday night, but it just depends on the family. Sometimes it is the family comes into town and they're all lounging around the house, and it's hard to get them all to go somewhere, and you don't see them that often. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm hoping I can just tinker around the house, maybe walk down to the creek, see what's going on down there. So that's the very eventful, exciting, just jet setting life of the Lewis family, just piddling around, tinkering around, and enjoying the company of friends and family. We get a little physical fitness and a little chores mixed in there so I can feel productive with my time. Guys, hope everything's going great. Oh, I didn't mention, I think the Signal Mountain Opry is this Saturday. So if you're in Hamilton County and you got nothing better to do and you want to hear some good bluegrass music up at the Bachman Center here on Signal Mountain, highly recommended. I think I may be taking the girls. I think, yeah, Saturday night I've got to watch the various nieces and uh, at the house. So I'm going to see if I can drag them to some good Appalachian music so the girls don't forget their roots here in the South. So that's it. That's the whole summary. Love you guys. Be good. Take care. I'll holler at you next week. And if you want to take action on any of these items, please do. And again, if you can support us, just to help us with the expenses of reporting on the session. They just go through the roof because there's so much going on and we have so much to cover. And heck, we don't even probably get to half of it. And it's just all the money we've got. And I don't know how much y'all could consume anyway. There's only so much we can keep up with and only so much you can keep up with. But we do our best, and we're the only people doing it. So if you appreciate it, chip in and give us a hand. Love you, mean it, take care, guys. I'll holler at you next time. See ya.